How many people do you know who live on a street name which is a date, a time in history? I grew up with grandparents in Tel Aviv who lived in Kaftet November Street, the 29th of November Street in Bat Yam, South Tel Aviv. And amazingly, many streets in Israel across the country are named the 29th of November. And of course, it commemorates what we commemorated this week, the 29th of November. It was this Wednesday in 2017, exactly 70 years after the 29th of November 1947, the famous Partition Plan Resolution 181, adopted by an incredible 2/3 majority of the General Assembly. Can one imagine today any pro-Israel resolution being adopted by 2/3 of all of the countries of the world? At the time, the necessary majority to give, for the first time in thousands of years, the nations of the world a state acknowledging the Jewish state in part of the land of Israel. What was the meaning of this event for us as Jews? One of the most powerful stories I read by the famous Israeli author Amos Oz in his book, A Tale of Love and Darkness, captures, I think, what this meant to us as the Jewish people. He speaks of his father, who went out like everybody, like so many of the Jewish people, dancing in the streets at the realization that they were living through history, a state given to the Jewish people. And his father recalls, he said he was an 8-year-old boy, Amos Oz. He was up till 3 or 4 in the morning. And when finally he comes to bed, he sees his father is moved. And instead of scolding him, he says, "My son, I remember what it was like to be a boy in a Polish school, and I was made fun of, and they even took my pants away. And when I went to complain to people, to the teachers, they ridiculed me even more." And I want to read to you from the story. Oz relates how his father said to him early that morning, on November the 30th, just before he went to bed, he said, "Bullies may well bother you at school or in the street someday, but from now on, from the moment we have our own state, you will never be bullied just because you are a Jew. Not that. Never again. From tonight, that's finished forever." And listen what Oz concludes. He says, "I reached out sleepily to touch the face of my father, and instead of his glasses, my fingers met tears. Never in my life, before or after that night, even when my mother died, had I ever seen my father cry." You see, the powerlessness of the Jewish people for almost 2,000 years, suffering at the hands of the most horrific, as we know, pogroms and crusades and massacres and Rahman al-Islam just before the Holocaust. A sense of powerlessness at the mercy of others. Appreciated the father of Amos Oz with those tears, the only tears he shed in his life, along with all of Klal Yisrael, what that day meant, no longer to be a powerless people, but to be a people who have the power to defend themselves, to protect themselves, and to build independently together their own destiny and dignity. And the truth is, this move from powerlessness to be powerful enough to defend oneself and live with dignity is exactly what is at the heart of this week's parasha and all the parashas leading up until today. In this week's parasha, Vayishlach, we read of the most transformative name change in all of Jewish literature. The fact that Yaakov doesn't become Yaakov, not like Avraham, it becomes Avraham, or Sarai, Sarah. The name is totally changed, Yaakov to Yisrael. He is transformed, and so the Jewish people, their founder, are transformed with such relevance today. You see, Yaakov was the powerless one. Even his name, Yaakov, is Akev, the one who is trodden on the heel in Hebrew. He was supposed to be first, and Esav beats him to it. And Esav keeps beating him to it because he is powerless. He's a man of Torah study. Yoshev Ohalim Ishtam is a pure, naive person of truth and intellectual study, and he's trodden on time and time again. He becomes the Akev, the one who's literally under the heel, downtrodden by his brother. And when he goes to live with Lavan, he is swindled again by his brother. He is this passive individual who is unable to be anything more than one who has his truth, but in the world of real politics, he's trodden on time and time again. But in this week's parasha, at the conclusion of the last 3 weeks, we see a transformation. When he comes into the land, he learns how to handle Lavan after 20 years of deception and crookery. And he comes into the land, and his final test before his name change is the battle with this Ish, this angel in the dark, this angel of darkness who he doesn't know who it is. And who, of course, is it? Our rabbis say it is the angel of Esav. And now his name is changed totally, a totally different being. He says, your name is no longer going to be Yaakov only. Ki im Yisrael. Why? Because you are now a different person. What does Yisrael mean? Who will become Bnei Israel, the land of Israel, the people of Israel. Ki sarita im Elokim va'anashim v'tuchal. You know how to struggle. Life is a struggle. If only we lived in an ideal world where the world of truth of Yaakov could be proclaimed and everybody would see it. But we live in a world of complexity, a world of contradiction, a world of darkness, where so often it is the darkness which overshadows the light. And the truth and the justness of the cause, like that of the Jewish people and the light they exude to others, is not often seen. In the world of real politics, you better know how to deal with Esav and Lavan. It's those two people who are the anashim, Rashi says about, that you struggled, you learned how to deal with Esav. It wasn't simple how you had to outsmart him. It wasn't simple how you needed to deal with Lavan. But it is only through your ability to struggle, to overcome with godly forces and with human forces, that you become an individual who is no longer powerless, but powerful enough to defend one's values and to put forward the things that the Jewish people stand for. And how honored we are to live in a generation where we have finally made the transition from Yaakov to Yisrael, 70 years of a state of Israel, ongoing struggle, thank God, to overcome those which wish to undermine both spiritual and physical forces. And Bezrat Hashem, from these 70 years forward, may we continue to live up to the name of Yisrael and exude that truth of Yaakov for all those around us to see and to appreciate. Shabbat Shalom from sunny South Africa.